So should I
Okay.
just start talking?
No, just give me 1 second, Rod. I'm gonna do a little introduction. I need to share my screen and then I'll hand it over to you. Um, okay. All right. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, great. So welcome to Panvala's March Town Hall. We are currently at 300, over 300 communities that are made up of 3 chapters now. Our Web3 chapter, our Give chapter. It's okay. With all those verified projects. So all the verified Give projects are part of the Give chapter. And we now have our first city chapter, which is in Austin, Texas. So our 300 plus communities are within those 3 chapters. Our first spotlight for today is LunCo. And so I'm going to hand it over to Rod for him to talk about that organization.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. I just need 1 second to find a decent presentation. I have to say that we still do not have a good looking pitch deck. Just there are a lot of things that must be done, but we have a short presentation, so I think I found it. Just let me share my screen. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, just let me make it a full screen. So let me present myself. I think it makes sense to start with it. My name is Rod, and I'm founder of LunCo. I'm a professional space engineer. My background is math and computer science, but 5 years ago, I had an opportunity to join the UK company SpaceBeat as a CEO, and at SpaceBeat I was responsible for development of a working rover for the moon called Asaguma. Unfortunately, we were not able to deliver it in time to descend on an astrobotic mission to the moon that would be launched in May. But we delivered a small device, and I was responsible for development. I've managed development and design and documentation for that device. So soon I'll be able to point to the moon and say that there is a thing that I've participated in the process of development. With all the knowledge that I learned, I realized that one of the most important thing in space engineering is the requirements management. It's quite boring and maybe it's not obvious, but the hardest part of engineering stuff for space is not actual engineering, but maybe it's collecting all the requirements. It takes much more time than just engineering, because when you have a clear understanding of what you need, of what you have to achieve, it's maybe like half of the solution. Unfortunately, nowadays, and in general, the workflow with requirements, it's quite easy. And an example, we can say that the mass of our system should be no more than X kilos. And it's an example of simple requirements. The issue is that there are thousands or maybe tens of thousands of these requirements. And when you have that complexity, it becomes quite hard to manage. Nowadays, the main approach is just to write down huge documents and to share these documents between companies back and forth via email. And it's quite complicated because every company, they have its own, well, if it's developed company, it uses different software for requirements management. There are a lot of software, for example, maybe one of the biggest and the most known is an IBM Doors, but it's a highly proprietary, it's highly corporative software. Basically, you need a lot of money to start, and once you started to use it, you cannot jump off it, and you have to pay again and again and again. And it's really hard to do for small teams. And nowadays, we live in an amazing time when a lot of small space missions could be designed by maybe tens of people, up to 50 people. And there are no decent open source solutions for these companies that allows requirements management. And the thing is that there are no blockchain-based solution at all, but with a lot of requirements, like, with a lot of small messages, like the mass of the system should not exceed X kilos. It's quite obvious, at least for me, that blockchain is an amazing way to connect all the space engineers into one network, allowing them to exchange information with each other without any borders. And to do that, you need a set of tools, a set of really convenient tools that allow you to just work, to focus on your task, but not on, things like how do I get the license? Can I be sure that the guys on the other side would be open files and so on? So that's how I decided to start LunCo. Initially, it was a software for requirements management. Oops, just give me a second to change. Oops. Oh, yeah, I have a couple of slides and it'll be a bit hard. So at its core, at LunCo, we are developing several software and we are huge fans of space engineering. We have a boring software that is called YARM. Unfortunately, it's not here and it's a software for requirements management, but it's highly professional and not so many people um, it's really hard to sell. So based on that, we started to create a couple of games, but these games are based on actual space standards, and after all, it's a great. We are working on right now. We are working mostly on the game that is called that is called Primo. It's a high-level lunar-based um, uh, simulation tool, but it's more of it looks like a game that is inspired by RimWorld and Factorio. The goal, I'm also working at Moondower on lunar exploration, and the goal is to provide the community of space fans a tool that allow them to design their mission on a high level. And we have a pretty good traction because a lot of professional space people support us. For example, now we have guys who consult us who has experience getting grants from NASA and uh, designing robots for NASA for lunar exploration. Same for ESA, and they really like the idea because they do understand that it's really important to get as many people on board as it possible, and they really like the idea of having a really nice design tool that allows you to build a to design high level model of your mission. In general, at LunCo, our mission is to accelerate lunar colonization, providing open source engineering software, and that's what we are working on. Sorry for switching between slides. Uh, as I said, our pitch deck is in the process because most of the time we have to communicate with people. We really believe that it's important to design things for outer space because it would benefit everyone. There are a lot of reasons why it's important. Like maybe the most high level reason is that there is a second law of thermodynamics that that says that everything tends to go to chaos, and basically it means that on our Earth it had a really limited resources, and without getting to space, sooner or later humanity would die. And the sooner we'll get to space, the better. Nowadays, a lot of technologies, including computers, solar panels, GPS, a lot of things that surround us came from space exploration. And it's really important to set a really complicated goals that's really hard to achieve because it's really fun working on it. But all the collateral technologies that would emerge, that what would make the difference. Um, In general, the idea is quite simple. When engineer work on the project, it has a lot of requirements, models, simulations, analysis, and all the engineer they has to share that information. And tools like IPFS and things built on top of blockchain could help with it. So the idea is to build, let's say, a Google Docs, but for space engineers and built on a blockchain, allowing everyone everywhere in the world to participate to work on a space mission. And as a result, it should lower the cost of space mission. It should allow engineers to design their stuff much faster, and it paved the ways for decentralized and distributed space mission. I have a friend from Nigeria, and he is space enthusiast. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, there is no university that teaches you space engineering, and the guy, in some sense, he's cut from all over the world because all the software that he needs to use costs tens of thousands of dollars. And he really likes LunCo because with the community that is built around LunCo, he has access to all the professional engineers, and hopefully soon he'll be able to also participate on all the missions together. In terms of features, LunCo is quite it's really hard. Sometimes it's really hard to explain all the features, like what means support of CC-SDS standards. But basically, it's about all the look. It's about missions and spacecraft simulations, and it's about decentralized collaborative space mission design. There are also a lot. I can tell a lot about. Boring stuff like all the standards. So at LunCo we are relying on standards like XTCE to describe space systems. We are using a bunch of CCSDS. I forgot how it's called, what CCSDS means, but basically it's they provide a set of space standards that is widely adopted all over the world from the US to China, because both the US and China participated in creation of the CCFD standard, which is great because it means that basically everywhere in the world people rely on that standards. In terms of sample applications, now we have a partner who works on a project on a solar power plant station in space, and we are discussing how we could make it better. Also, with the Gitcoin community, with a bunch of people from Gitcoin community, we are discussing the possibility to create a decentralized civic Earth observation constellation for things like MRV, CO2 tracking, and actually it has to be DMRV, not just MRV, decentralized MRV. Also, on top of that software, we can build, and we are building right now because it really helps to onboard people, educational tools, and after all, it should become a metaverse for space engineers. I think that's all what I want to say about LunCo. I already took about 15 minutes, so I can talk for hours, and I'm happy to respond to your questions if you have.
Thanks, thanks, Rod. I'm actually curious how many people are a part of LunCo.
It's quite complicated. Unfortunately, right now, I'm the only one who can work full time, but I think we have around 6 or 7 core contributors, and we have around 20 or 30 active people who supports and quite actively participates and tracks what's going on. Under actively participate, I mean they help to promote the project, they help to get in touch with people. So all in all, I'd say um, I'm the only one who works full time, 6 or 7 core contributors, and around 30 people. So in total, we have around 40 active people, which is quite a lot. Quite active people, which is quite a lot.
So I think I get like the aims of the project, and it sounds exciting. Do you have like a demo of like how it works today? Like, can you like simulate a mission to space, or uh, like seeing what it does? I think would help understand what it is.
We have a couple of prototypes, and these prototypes available on our GitHub, so you can open GitHub, download source code, and run it. But everything like it's just the beginning. So we have a prototype of a thing that is look like a game, and it's made on purpose like a game. But basically, we have a prototype of a 3D. You can you can add facilities or buildings, and you can put those buildings on the map. But the actual core that runs the simulation that connects is being developed. I believe that and also last week a huge event for us happened. A version we are relying on an open engine that is called Godot. It's the only fully open source AAA game engine in the same league as the Unity and um, um, I forgot another engine, Unreal Engine. So like finally Godot 4 was released, and it's important because we were not able to implement a bunch of features in version 3.5. So to summarize, we have a couple of prototypes. You can download the code and run on your computer those prototypes from our GitHub. And I think, but I think that in around 2 or 3 months, we'll have the first working demo that would worth presenting. And we'll have like right now we are focused on development, and with that version, it'll be available in pre-built. So you'll be able just to download. Yep. Yep, I can download. So we have
Yeah,
to wait for around 2 or 3 months before the first release would be published.
makes sense. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so do I.
Any other questions for Rod before we keep going? Okay, thanks, Rod.
Okay, thanks
Keep
for the
going.
opportunity.
Yeah,
Here
you're welcome.
I'll just turn off my camera.
Okay. All right, I'm going to share my screen again. Here we go. So, can you all see it okay? Okay. So, some updates from Panvala. We have the govern stamp. It's now live. We haven't promoted it too much yet because we want to do it in conjunction with Govern. They've asked us to do it that way. But to earn the stamp, you need to contribute to a DAO and mint your contribution on chain with Govern. So each person from any community in Panvala's network can earn a stamp for their community, and each community can earn up to 20 stamps or $100. And that might change. There's a cap currently because Govern wants to reach as many different people and communities as possible. And depending on how that kind of goes, that cap might be raised or just kind of let go. So that's to be seen. So I'll drop this link in the chat to learn more about minting on Govern. So I mentioned the addition of the next chapter we have in Austin. It's a different kind of chapter than the Web3 chapter or the Give chapter. This chapter, people don't collect stamps through sponsors. It's actually people get mint a stamp when they give to like a local nonprofit. So it's our first city stamp, and we collaborated with ATX DAO. The city stamp is to encourage people to give continuously, and that's how people earn a stamp. Whenever they give to a local community, they mint a stamp. So the funds go into a shared account. Like with all of Panvala's communities, we match those funds, and then those funds are sent to nonprofits via an organization called Endowment. And then everyone who earns a stamp through the Austin City Stamp, or earns the Austin City Stamp, I should say, can then take a poll about adding new communities, which are new communities that qualify to give to, minting new NFTs, and how the funds are distributed between those communities that the DAO picks. And then lastly, before I hand it over to Niran to talk about his talk at Shelling Point this year at ETH Denver, we are looking for some contributors to Panvala, operations person, communications manager, and graphic designer. And for the most part, I believe these are part-time. And if you or someone you know is interested, please just get in touch with us. We haven't really started looking for people yet, but we plan to do so in the coming weeks. So any questions before anything I said before I hand it over to Niran?
I think I have friends who could be interested in contribution. How to reach you? So just to tell them to go to your Discord and ask about options to contribute.
Yeah, you can just have them either contact me or Niran. It can be in the Discord, and then we'll get in touch with them. Or email works too, Rod. Either one.
Okay. I'll share it with the. If you make a post on Twitter, I'm happy to make a repost and help in that way. And also I'll send it to my friends who could be interested.
Perfect. Thank you. We haven't really put a description together, but when we do, we'll be posting it places. So I can send it to you, Rod, once it's put together.
So it looks like Kevin had a question about the new stamp. So again, just to give a high level overview of what's going on, there's a new stamp available from Govern. It's like the other stamp campaigns where there's a company that wants to get more people to learn about their product, to try out their product. So the way that you earn the stamp is literally by using Govern. Govern is a tool for DAOs and for DAO contributors. and it allows you to record your contributions on chain in a way that you can own and take with you from DAO to DAO. So when a new DAO that you want to contribute to is trying to figure out what you're good at or if you're the right fit, you'll have all your contributions on chain that have been vouched for by people in the DAO that you've contributed to. So you can show it and say, hey, this is what I'm good at. This is what I've done for other DAOs, and I want to do that kind of work here. It's basically like a portfolio that you own that is actually vouched for by the people that you've worked for. So let me show you how to get to the campaign. Basically, if you pull up panvala.com/stamps, you can basically see the currently available stamp campaigns, and the DAO contributor stamp by Govern is the first one there. And again, it gives that short description that I just gave to you about what Govern is and how to earn the stamp. The instructions about how to mint a stamp are in the Govern documentation. So if you click on the link to mint each of your contributions on chain, there's documentation about how that actually works. Basically, it'll walk you through the process of using Govern, of reporting your contributions, and of minting them. Minting them is the last step because, again, at the end of the day, when you're claiming your stamp, we need the link to your contribution on chain to know that you've actually gone through the process. So once you mint, it'll have a link to actually view your contribution on chain. That's the link that you'll copy and you'll paste into the form. There's also instructions in the form as well. So when you actually go to claim the stamp and go through the process of filling out the form with all the information about the requirements, it'll show you what you need to do. It's not going to let me get all the way through the process, but basically, let me see if it'll just let me skip forward. So when you actually do it, it'll give you the instructions of how to actually get the proof that you need. So when you're through the process and you've actually minted the contribution, there's going to be a link on the screen that says View on Block Explorer, and that's how you know you're done. You can click on that link for the minted contribution, you'll paste it into the form, and that's how you claim the stamp. So again, it's about if you have contributed to a DAO, you can qualify for the stamp. If you haven't contributed to a DAO, this isn't for you. But if you have contributed to a DAO, we want you to go to Govern. We want you to mint your contribution on chain. And then once you have that minted, you'll paste the link to that here. And that's how you claim the stamp for your community. Rachel?
I have a small question. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Rod. Give me 1 second. Kevin's asking about on-chain contributions, if that means donating. And I'm just actually also wondering if you can explain what contribution means.
So contribution is just work. So any sort of work that you've done for a DAO, this is, again, Govern is really for building a portfolio for DAO contributors. So people who work on some sort of project that a DAO is being used to organize, you basically want to be able to record your contributions. A DAO doing work, it's all these different people working on a project with less hierarchy than usual. So basically being able to record what you've actually done and have that in a portfolio that you can share is kind of the evidence, the proof that you've done work for that DAO. So it's less about donating. It's not really about donating at all. It's more about work. Like if there's some sort of project that you've done, you've written some code for a DAO, you've written some documentation, you've done some marketing work for a DAO, whatever it is that you've done for a DAO, it's about recording that contribution on chain. So then other DAOs that you might work for in the future can know that you can do that kind of work. It's literally a portfolio for work. So Kevin's asking if it's mainly for existing Govern users who have such a portfolio. So no, it's for new Govern users, but existing DAO contributors. So there's lots of people who contributed to DAOs today. Those are the people who the stamp campaign is for, people who are contributing to DAOs. If you haven't contributed to a DAO, then the stamp campaign isn't necessarily for you. But if you have contributed to a DAO, we want you to use Govern to be able to build up your portfolio using their tool. So you don't have to have used Govern before. You can be a brand new Govern user. You just have to be someone who contributes to a DAO, because that's who the tool is for.
And Rod has a question.
Yeah, so if I contribute to a couple of DAOs, can I have only one stamp, or is just for one stamp for being a contributor? And second question, I'm a steward of a space engineering guild at Moondao, and as a steward, my main contribution is that I'm onboarding people. So I'm not producing any documents. Like the main outcome is that people are active, and everyone in the community, they support me, but I cannot prove that I've made the job. So how to deal with it? Oh, sorry, and the last thing is that there is another community. It's not yet a DAO, but it's a community. It's called the Solar Pan Guild. It's built around the Gitcoin. It's not yet a DAO, but basically it's really similar to DAO. So can it be counted as well?
Any community that calls itself a DAO counts. So there's no like strict criteria. There's no limitation. Any community can use this tool. It is one stamp per person, because again, Govern wants people to try out their product. So each person that tries it out, you get one stamp, and that's the reward for trying it out the first time and understanding what the tool does. It's not one stamp per contribution to different DAOs. It's one stamp for the first time that you use Govern. That's really what it's all about. You had 3 questions, and I think I answered 2, but let me know if there's something that I missed.
Yeah, the last question, how to prove that I've made the contribution to a DAO?
So that's what this tool is all about. So for things that have less concrete evidence, I believe there's a feature in Govern that allows people in the DAO to basically vouch for your contribution. So it's really attestations is the feature that they use to do this. So anybody can create their own contribution. So you don't even need to take this step. But if you're interested in learning more about how Govern helps your DAO navigate this issue, because this is a problem that many DAOs have, their attestations feature is what makes this work.
Okay, it sounds really cool. I have to say, I really like that project pays for testing it, and I mean, I think it's really great. I really like that stamp.
Yeah, definitely try it out. Mint your contribution for onboarding people. Get somebody else from your DAO to attest to your contribution. And then even though there's no concrete proof that you've onboarded people, because it's not something that produces an artifact, you'll be able to show other people that people within your DAO vouch for your contribution. And that's how you build up this portfolio over time. That's really what Govern is all about. So they want you to try it. You're going to love it. And then you're going to keep using
I have, may I ask, like, I have, so basically, if I bring 40 people from Moondao, and they could like support, 20 of them could support Moondao, and sorry, I have no more questions. Sorry for jumping.
Yeah, so yes, you bring as many people as you want. Moondao, like the stamps, I don't believe can fund Moondao yet, unless you're on Giveth with Moondao. if Moondao is
Yeah,
ungiven,
that was my question. It's not there, and I realized that it's not there, so my question makes no sense.
yeah, but basically you can, Panvala is open to everybody. So get Moondao added to Panvala. We'll add Moondao to the list, and then Moondao can fund itself by trying out govern and earning stamps in that way. Kevin had another question in the chat. So any community that calls itself a DAO is fine. There's a space in govern where you can add your own DAO. So you just enter it in, and then the first people to enter it in are effectively the admin for that DAO. You kind of control the other people who say that they're contributing. So you can create your own. You can add your own DAO to govern, and the tool lets you do that. So it's not a limited list. Any DAO can qualify for this, and it is 1 stamp per individual and 20 individuals per community. So 20 people from your community can go mint their contribution on govern, and then in total, that's $100 of stamps that your community will have earned. And if there's sufficient resources from Panvala to match that at the end of the quarter, then the matching will apply to that as well. So for instance, last quarter, everything was matched on average at 8x. So if that happens again, then it would be $800 total for your community. But again, there's no guarantee on the matching. The matching is variable. But yes, 20 people per community, 1 stamp per person. Any last questions before we move on? The city stamps. So I can go all into that. It's a little bit different, and yeah. So Rachel, once you're ready, let me know, and I'll dive into the meat.
Yeah, I'm ready. Go for it.
All right, so the City Stamp program is brand new, and for some context, basically I wanted to share with you some of my presentation from East Denver that really goes into what this is and how it fits into the broader scope of Panvala. So let me share my screen.
Narrowly can't hear.
Yep, happens every time. There should be a setting for that. Why does it mute me when I share my screen? Anyway, thinking about what Panvala is at a high level, it's all about a movement of communities and their members aiming to build an economy that funds communities by default. We live in a society, we live in an economy where there are certain people who just receive resources by default. It just naturally flows to them. We call those people the rich. More value just keeps flowing to them. People say the rich get richer. Everybody sees this general pattern in our economy and in our society. And in Panvala, we believe that we can look at those same patterns, and instead of pointing them at the rich and having value just constantly flow to them, we can point them at communities instead and have value constantly flow to communities. That's what this movement is all about. We organize communities like your community to participate in direct action that reshapes the economy in this way. And the 2 forms of direct action that we participate in is shopping together and giving together. Shopping together is what you've already done in your communities, and giving together is what the new city stamps are all about. So when we talk about shopping together, if you think about what's happening in our economy when a business wants to get customers in the door, when they want to get more customers, they are basically paying rich people to get more customers in the door. If I'm a business and I want more customers, I'm going to give some money to Google and Facebook, and they're going to bring more customers in the door. Google and Facebook are just owned by rich people. Maybe I'm going to buy a TV ad and get more customers in the door. Again, I'm paying rich people. Or maybe I'm going to buy a big billboard and get more customers to come to my business. I'm giving more money to rich people. That when they want more customers in the door, they pay for it. And the people that they're paying are rich people. In Panvala, we shift the way that works. We still want businesses to be able to get more customers in the door, but instead of paying those rich people, we want them to pay communities. And that's what Panvala stamps are all about. When a business wants more customers in the door, we want them to mint Panvala stamps and offer them to their customers when they actually interact with them, when they try out their product, when they make a purchase. That's the way we want businesses to spend their marketing dollars and to get the same result. And we're not asking businesses to be do-gooders. We're not asking them to have a big heart. What we're asking them to do is get customers in the door in another way. It's more effective per dollar to pay communities to get the customers in the door than it is to pay advertising networks. That's what we want to show more and more businesses across our economy and show more and more communities. So instead of the value flowing out of our community, it can stay within our community, and that value can go to make our communities thrive. That's what we want to do by shopping together. So the Govern stamp that I mentioned is really an example of that. Govern wants more people to use their product, and they could pay some advertising firm to make that happen and say, hey, use Govern, ads on Twitter, ads on Facebook, ads everywhere. They could do that, but instead they took their marketing budget and said, you know what, we're going to fund communities to get people to try our product. And that's what you're participating in when you go and collect the Govern stamp. You're trying out Govern, you're learning about a product that is useful for you, and you'll be able to keep using it over time. They're getting more customers and they're funding your community to get more customers. That's what's happening. The more we do this, the more businesses we get to market in this way, and the more communities we get to collect these stamps. That's how we shift the economy, to build an economy that funds communities by default. That's what this is all about. So the second part of Panvala, and what the most of this presentation is really about, is giving together. This is something that we haven't done with you in Panvala yet. It's something that we want to show you how to do. This is about coordinated giving. It's about how giving in a coordinated way can make communities wealthier. And this isn't just about encouraging people to give more out of the goodness of their own heart, because giving is good. We acknowledge that it's a very good thing, but what we're doing in Panvala is about coordinating people to give together. And when we talk about giving together, the people that we're trying to give together is people in your city. We want you to give together with people in your city to build an economy that funds communities by default. Giving together builds up economic power that our communities do not have today, but that they can have if they give together. So in Panvala, we believe that cities thrive when they tithe, that cities have more value flow within their communities, have more value to actually spend as communities when they tithe. And not everybody knows what tithing is. So as a quick intro, tithing is basically just coordinated giving. That's what we're talking about here. It's a cultural norm of giving to your community on a regular basis. And it's a cultural norm for the amount that you give to your community. Maybe it's a certain percentage of your income or some other standard amount that you give, because again, you're trying to get many, many people to give together. And the kinds of communities that typically participate in this are religious communities, where they have kind of a cultural expectation of the amount that you give and how often that you give it. That's typically what's going on. So for an example of a place that has this coordinated giving kind of culture, think about Salt Lake City, Utah. In Salt Lake, it's kind of a special, unique sort of place. It's very different from the average American city because many people are part of the same religious community. And as a result, many people are giving together. They have this expectation of a tithe where they're giving to their church, and their church is providing community benefits for all the people within their community. As a result, they benefit from tons of resources. And it's not just what they're giving, it's the economic power that they're building by giving together within a city. And that's what we're going to walk through right now. So if you think about the flow of value that's happening in a city like that, there are people giving 10% of their income to their community, and they're getting that value back as community benefits that are provided for them collectively. They keep giving together and they keep getting those community benefits. But what would happen in a city like Salt Lake City if they just stopped giving? Maybe they stopped believing, maybe for some reason they left the church, but for some reason everybody in the city just stops giving. So as a result, they are not giving that 10% from their income anymore. That 10% is in their wallet. So does that mean they're all going on shopping sprees, buying fancy cars, big screen TVs? I think what's more likely to happen is that if every person in a city has 10% more money in their wallet than they had before, it's not just about buying new things that they would be able to do. Really, most of what's going to happen is that they're going to be competing more over the things that they were already competing over. And what that means is primarily housing. Everybody in a city, we're all competing with our neighbors for scarce housing. The land in our city, there's a fixed pot of it, and the people who get it are the people who outbid other people. So if everybody in the city has 10% more money, that means the competition for the scarce resource, housing, is going up. And when that happens, value is flowing out of your community. If the more money in everybody's wallet makes more money go to bid up housing prices, then that means if you're renting your house, more money is going to landlords. And that means if you're buying your house, more money is going to banks for your mortgage. Again, that value used to go to community benefits that were benefiting everybody in the community. But now, since they all have that extra money in their wallet, they're all bidding against each other for housing and raising the housing prices, and that value is going out of their community. They have this economic power to push back against that kind of extraction because of their coordinated giving and because they're doing it with their neighbors within a city. Getting people to give in a coordinated way protects against extraction. That's why they have so many resources to be able to deploy for community benefits. It's not just that they're giving their own money, it's that they actually have more collective resources because it's not being extracted from them the way that it is in most places. So the movement that we need is something that can help communities push back against this extraction without all being part of the same community. We're not trying to make everybody be part of one big community or one big belief. We want people to believe many different things or not believe anything at all. We want many different communities to be able to work together to build up this economic power that can help communities thrive. But where we are today is that we're in that version of Salt Lake City without the tithing. The resources in our wallets in most of the cities that we're living in are going to fixed resources that we compete over. And then landlords and banks are the beneficiaries at the end of the day. Value is flowing out of our communities rather than staying within it. What we need is a way to build up a movement of coordinated giving where we give together to communities of our choice, not necessarily the same community, different communities, but we're giving together. And as a result, those community benefits are going back to us. We're not having that value flow out of our community. It's staying within our community, giving us both the value that we're giving out of our own pockets to make our communities thrive, but the value that we're protecting from flowing out of our community, that's adding on to that. That's new value we don't have access to that we're able to direct to our communities. That's how we can build an economy that funds communities by default. Where we are today in crypto is that there's this regen heartbeat, this quarterly sort of muscle that we've built where we all give together once a quarter. It's really one of the best things happening in crypto right now. The Gitcoin branch round that produced this vibrant energy that gets everybody to talk about the things that they care about the most, to support the things that they care about the most, and to do it together. And it's really crypto people coming together to fund crypto projects around the world. It's a beautiful thing. It's a great thing. But the thing that it's missing, the power that it's not building, is that we're not building that economic power to prevent against extraction because we're giving globally rather than giving locally. Giving in a coordinated way with people in your own city is the thing that builds that economic power that keeps more value in our community. But if we're just giving globally without doing it in a coordinated way, we're giving, and that's good, but we're not building up economic power. Panvala is all about building that economic power. So we need to expand that quarterly heartbeat of giving to be about local people funding local projects. We have to turn our attention not just to the global things happening online, but to the local things happening in the places that we live. And that's what city stamps are all about. So the way that city stamps work is that they're significantly different from the sponsored stamps. The sponsored stamps are a business putting in money so they can get customers in the door. With city stamps, you're putting your own money. You pay money to mint a city stamp. And that money that you're putting in is a donation because you get to choose which community it goes to at the end of the day. The funds raised from a city stamp go to local organizations, local communities, local DAOs, local projects, whatever it is. But the constraint is that it has to be tied to the city that the stamp is for. That process we want to repeat every quarter and grow this movement. That's how we build up this muscle of coordinated giving in the cities that we live in. So the first example of this is the Austin City Stamp, which is live. It launched last week. And basically, it's a version of this for Austin, where we whitelist. Basically, we created this in partnership with ATX DAO, which is a local city DAO that I'm a member of in Austin. The way you mint it is by paying 0.02 Ether, which is about $30. You put $30 in, you get the stamp NFT. There are 3 nonprofits that have been whitelisted to receive these funds. So basically, we started off with these 3 nonprofits. They're not crypto projects, they're not DAOs, they're literally just normal nonprofit organizations. And we send the funds to these nonprofits via endowment, which creates a wallet for any 501c3 nonprofit. So it's not that these 3 nonprofits are the end state of this thing. We literally want every nonprofit, every community, every DAO that's tied to Austin to be a part of this program. We want you to be able to give to any local thing to get a city stamp. That's what this coordinated giving is all about. When we want to set this expectation that we're giving together to local things, we don't want to be narrow about what qualifies. We want to be broad. As long as it's tied to Austin, you should be able to get an Austin city stamp for giving to it. So the way that you add communities to it is that once a quarter, we're going to let the NFT holders propose new communities, new nonprofits, new DAOs that should be able to qualify for the funds from the Austin city stamp. And as long as the other NFT holders say that it's tied to Austin, it gets added, and that's another community that can qualify for it. So again, we want to add more and more people collecting these stamps, more and more communities in the city that qualify for the stamp, and build up this culture, build up this movement of collective giving so we can build up this economic power that can fund communities by default. Like as we're getting this Austin stamp up and running, we also want to create similar things for more cities. So in Denver, in Austin, we started with ATX DAO as that partner organization, as kind of the seed to get this coordinated giving going. In Denver, it might be Cryptorado. In Boulder, it might be the Boulder Blockchain Meetup. In the city you're in, there's probably a community that makes sense to be the seed of a city stamp program within that city. Because again, we want to start one of these for every city in the US and then every city in the world to be able to build up this economic power for everyone to be able to benefit from. We want to work with you in your city to start a city stamp program for that city. We also want to make it easier for communities to reach more collectors. So it's not just about coming to the city stamp program because you heard about it through Panvala. We want any community that qualifies for the city stamp program to be able to easily share that there's another benefit of donating. Like right now on Gitcoin, the main thing is donate because you can get the matching. And we do want people to donate and get the matching. We also want another reason for people to donate and you can get the city stamp. We want people to be as thirsty for the city stamps as they are for POAPs and other NFTs that are out there. We want people to want to collect them and want to collect a new one every quarter because they want to be part of this collective giving movement that can build up economic power for all of our communities. We also want to make it easier for people to mint these over time, like minting with a credit card. Right now, you need to have Ether on mainnet to mint the Austin City Stamp, and we want to make that easier and more accessible over time. When our work is done, what it looks like to have an economy that funds communities by default is very different from the world that we live in today. At the end of the day, we want less extraction and more community benefits. There should be less value flowing out of our communities to idle rich people It should literally be going to our communities instead. When we're competing over scarce resources that nobody created, it's just land that we all need to be able to get access to. That competition is necessary, but the value doesn't need to go to random rich people. It should go to our communities instead. At the end of the day, we want less atomization and more connection. We want everyone to see that there's this value that is there for the taking that they can take to any community they want. And if you can grab any marketing dollar and any value from what we're building up to resist extraction in our cities, if that value is yours, it would be silly to not take advantage of it and actually take it to a community and plug into the benefits that you can get from that. So there are people who aren't plugged into community life that through our movement will get plugged in because it'll be a no-brainer. It's not something that you have to sacrifice for anymore. It's something that is your birthright. It's something that is your entitlement. With the economic power that we build up, we want anybody to be able to plug into it. And we want more people to get tied into community life. And lastly, we want less monoculture and more choice. Right now, to get these kind of benefits, the economic benefits from collective giving really require people to be part of the same community today. So in cities where that's true, they're getting benefits that we aren't in other cities where people believe different things. We don't want people to have to believe the same thing. We don't want people to have to be part of the same community, but we do want every community to have that sort of economic power for communities to thrive. We want people to choose the community that's offering the best version of the good life that appeals to you as an individual, and for you to be able to take your share of these resources to that community. We want a vast array of versions of the good life, communities that I might not want to be a part of, but that resonate with you. That's what this movement looks like. All sorts of communities working together to build economic power so we can have an economy that funds communities by default. At the end of the day, it's your wallet and your choice. The value that's actually being extracted from us today lives in your wallet. There are dollars in your wallet that are earmarked to end up in the pockets of rich people. Maybe you're going to buy from a business that's going to end up spending money on ads to get more customers in the door. That started in your wallet. You can change where that goes by collecting stamps. Maybe there's just dollars in your wallet that we're going to go pay somebody to just bid up housing prices to make land more expensive. You can choose where that goes. You can make that stay in your community by giving in a collective way. But if we just keep on doing nothing, that value by default keeps flowing to the rich, and we live in an economy that funds the rich by default. If we shop together and if we give together, we can build an economy that funds communities by default. That's what we're doing together. That's why we need as many communities as possible. That's why we need people like you to participate in this collective action that builds power for communities. And we're looking forward to seeing it keep growing and getting stronger and stronger so everyone can benefit from it. That's what the city stamps are all about. It went a little bit over time, and by a little bit, I mean significantly. But if people have questions, I have some time to answer them.
I have a question. Are these city stamps, are these something that we should expect to be working toward collaborating with actual city governments, or is this more a DAO-oriented venture?
So we never want to need to rely on a city government to make it work. But if a city government wants to, like, we would never say no, but we don't need to rely on it. The other thing is that we ask Panvala in general needs to be a nonpartisan sort of thing. Like, it needs to not pit people against each other, because again, our power comes from working together with as many different kind of people as possible. So the more we aim to get governments to support us, the more we kind of end up in that competitive mess that pits people against each other. So it's not, there's no bright line that says, hey, we would never work with a city government to make things better, because we would. But we do want to make sure we stay away from things that divide people, because we have to unite as many communities as we can.
Niran, I just wanted to say, I think the example you gave of Salt Lake City and the Mormon community is spot on. It's a really good example. And if anyone isn't familiar with the Mormon community in Salt Lake City, or any Mormon community, the resources that they have available to them is amazing because they do exactly what Niran said. So I wish more communities did that.
Yeah, like Salt Lake City, like I haven't been. Like it's literally I want to visit not to go like skiing or something. I want to visit just to experience the vibe that's going on there. Like I'm never gonna be a Mormon, but they're doing something special, and I wanna see it. They also have like the amount of resources they have is staggering. Like they they own a lot of stuff, and they did it by just getting their community to give together.
Kevin has a question about the IRL stamp.
Yeah, so the IRL stamp is basically something that we give out at conferences. So like if we need, like if we're trying to help somebody experience their first stamp collecting experience, sometimes we just hand them a stamp and say, hey, you can go redeem this for any community you want. We actually haven't done that lately. So we're probably gonna take it down from the site because it's confusing to people at this point, but that's what it is. It's really like I just got back from a conference in Denver, and that's an example of where we might give out that stamp, but we didn't. The last time that we gave it out was at MCon in September, but that's really what that's about. Could you have it for your conference, the blockchain conference that you're putting on? So I'll think about that. So really the best way to have people get their first stamp collecting experience is to collect one of the real stamps that's being offered by a sponsor. So we do want people to collect stamps at your conference, but we would love it if it was one of the stamps that are actually live. And for more context, so Kevin is part of the Blockchain UNN community. It's a community in Nigeria, and really, like they were actually at the top of the stamp collecting list this past quarter because they get it and they're doing the work that needs to happen to build an economy that works this way. And what we really want to do with the Blockchain UNN community is to find sponsors, find businesses that your community might do business with and get them to mint stamps and be able to have that as a reward for coming in the door. Because again, there you see advertisements, there are billboards that you see, there are businesses that are trying to get your business. We want to shift that money to have it go into your community. So where the model really shines is when it's communities that want to do, when it's businesses that want to do business with you, that we can work with to have stamps that you can collect. So that would really be the perfect thing. Like imagine people are coming to your blockchain conference and they need to eat a meal at some point, right? Having a restaurant mint stamps where it says, hey, you could go to any of these 5 restaurants, but this one of the 5 is offering a stamp for your community. Everyone's gonna go to the one that's offering a stamp, and that's really what this tool is for. So like we love what's going on in the blockchain UNN community, and finding a way to tie it with businesses that you would shop with is really the perfect spot. But the IRL stamp, we're not really doing it anymore. It was really just kind of a test. But yeah, it's really the stamps that are offered by the sponsors that we want people to be collecting. Any other questions before we call it for this month? All right. So the video of this town hall is going to be online, but also the version of that talk that I gave at ETH Denver is going to be online as well, and we'll tweet that out. So if it resonated with you and you want to share it to other people, that link's going to be on our Twitter to be able to share out. And again, if you have any questions, comments, feedback as this is going forward, that's the kind of thing that we always want to hear. At the end of the day, like, this is not something that I do, that Panvala does, that the team does. It's really the communities and the people at the end of the day that make this thing powerful at all. It's not like a typical crypto thing where they're like, look how powerful our software is. And Panvala, it's all about look how powerful our people are. So at the end of the day, we need this to resonate with you. We always want your feedback, and we always want to adjust to make sure we can help you build this economic power and build an economy that funds communities by default. Rachel?
Kevin was just asking about the roles at Panvala. One is an operations associate, communications manager, a graphic designer. There might be more roles, but those are the three that we're looking for at the moment. Victor?
Yeah, I was curious if the presentation could also get posted that you had made, Neuron. If you have a link.
Yes.
Cool.
I will send you the PDF.
Cool.
And I think the talk will eventually be available, like the whole Shelling Point talk, Victor, will be available on YouTube if you want to watch it. I don't know, Neuron, if you want to share the link that you shared with me yesterday, or if we just want to wait till it's on YouTube.
I didn't know you were at East Denver, Neuron. I think I saw you now that Rachel's bringing up the Shelling Point, but I didn't. We must have missed each other.
Yeah, when I saw your tweets about flying back, I was like, ah, Victor is there, and he never actually saw it. Missed opportunity.
Yeah, I was at like hauling a bunch of beer for Raid Brew the entire time.
Wow. I definitely I saw the booth at the main conference. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you missed Chili Man. I was doing Chili.
Oh no. That's awesome.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
fun.
I will drop you the PDF in Discord.
Thanks, Neuron. Thanks.
No problem. All right. Thanks for coming, everybody, and have a great month. Rachel, go ahead.
Just one other thing, Kevin, they are contract. It's contract work, so not internships, but whoever we do bring on board would be a contract, independent contractor.
And really, Kevin, for the people in your community, the best, like within our team, we don't have a lot of resources to focus on making the model work in Nigeria. And you have on the ground experience that where you've experienced collecting the stamps, you understand the economic model. If people within your community can make the connections needed to have Nigerian sponsors reaching Nigerian communities, then everything works perfectly. So the more we can kind of the kind of role that would work best for somebody on your team would be for somebody in your community would be somebody who's making connections with potential sponsors that your community would collect stamps from. For instance, if there's a stamp from a restaurant chain in Nigeria, there's the kind of the people that can collect it. Everyone's gonna look on the site and say, well, my community can't collect that stamp. But when people in your community see it, it's like, oh, that's for us. Like that community is trying to do business with us. Like that's exactly the sort of effect that we want. We want businesses trying to reach particular communities to be able to offer these stamps to get them in the door. And really, on our end, we haven't found that right sponsor for your community. If you help us find that right sponsor, we can do the work to make those resources flow and to keep growing the movement in Nigeria. So really excited to see how that plays out over time. Cheo, that applies for you too in Venezuela. We're also very interested in that as well.
Hello.
Hello. Good to see you again. Cool. So I think that's it. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.
Bye.